welcome to Literary Gladiators, the show where we discuss and debate literature in all of its forms. If it's written work, it's game.
Like checkers. I've said that before.
Yeah, I'll have to count and see how many times you've said that.
Like checkers?
Yeah, it's a game.
Let's meet the panel.
Or games.
Hi, I'm Larry.
Hi, I'm Perri.
I'm Charlie.
And I'm Josh. And today, Perri is making her debut on the discussion segments of our show.
Welcome. A round of applause.
It's literally over.
I know.
Perri's a
I
good friend
get it.
of Jesse, who actually has yet to take part in a discussion, but she has become a major staple on our channel.
And we went to school together. You graduated before me, right?
2008.
I'm slow, yeah. Yeah, Jesse.
Larry, welcome back to the panel.
Thank you, Josh. It's good to be back for yet another episode of this fine program.
It's always fine to have you on here.
All right,
Thanks for coming on, Perri.
You're not wearing the hat of the best New York team in football, but that really doesn't mean much as far as contributions to the discussion.
I don't know anything
I
about
hope not.
All I know about football is if the ball is slightly deflated, it's bad.
That's
the
I
Patriots.
think that's how most
I really,
sports involving balls go.
4 years in marching band, and I'm like, oh, come on. Ball's over there. Come on, pick the ball up. Just pick it up and run. Okay.
I think Tom Brady would agree with you when it comes to that.
No, he likes them a little underinflated.
I'm
Gets it to
confused.
kick farther.
Oh, okay, I'm really confused.
But otherwise, we're going to be going over a pretty random work in general, and that is On the Road by Jack Kerouac.
It certainly is a rambling work.
It is a rambling
Very rambling.
from the Beats era.
The legend is that he wrote that whole book in one sitting on a typewriter with a scroll that just kept going out and out and out. That's the legend. It does come across as a very believable scenario.
I
With
guess
the way
that's
it's
why
written.
Truman Capote didn't see Kerouac's work as writing, but instead as typing.
As typing.
Yeah.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, he felt that it was typing as opposed to writing.
It was, yeah, and I read the whole thing last night, and I'm sitting there at my computer.
You read it all in one sitting last night?
I had to get up early to finish it today.
I explained why I drove here with 6 cop cars behind me.
Alrighty then, Larry, you're going to be
Kicking this off, huh?
the discussion to start.
All right. Well, I think I thought about this, and the way that I wanted to go with it is because I like themes, right? That's my favorite part of literature is talking about themes. So there's one that keeps popping up throughout the work, and I think it's the theme of fathers. We have a couple of times where Sal is reminded of his father when he's down in New Orleans and betting the horses with Lee Boulders that time when one of the horses' name reminds him of his father. And then they don't bet on it, and then that horse wins. There is another time later with that kid who they go down to Mexico with. He's leaving his grandfather, and Sal says that for some reason that man reminds him of his grandfather, or of his father, who was dead, right? Sal's father was dead before the events of this book took place. So you have that one as well, right, where he's pleading with the kid not to leave him. Then there's the Neil Cassidy relationship with his father, where he's constantly looking for him, trying to find his father. Then there is the scene early on with Remy in San Francisco, where they are going to meet his father, and then Sal ends up making a drunken fool of himself and ruining the evening.
Yeah.
So we have this constant theme of fatherhood, I think. Plus, you got Neil Cassidy, who's a father of countless bastards across the countryside. So I thought that might be a good place to start, is to look at fatherhood and how maybe the lack of fatherhood.
And by Neil Cassidy, you mean Dean Moriarty.
Right, yeah. Neil Cassidy.
Okay.
Would be the,
Because he's based off of Neil Cassidy.
Yes.
But I would say that the structure of the work itself has to do with I think there are many elements that are relatable in how it is a coming-of-age tale, and how the reason that Sal Paradise is constantly traveling from place to place, feeling feeling like he cannot make it in this particular area, and then goes to the other place. And Gypsies Around the Country has to do with that idea of finding who he is as a person. But when you take the whole Beats era into perspective, like this is, it blows it out of complete proportion, and there's so many other factors that are taken into account. When you're younger, you're looking for a proper guide, and for Sal, it happens to be Dean Moriarty, who he sees him as holding the ideals of starting a family, which...
Well, he started many families.
He started a few families.
And then did a few families.
And Neil Cassidy started a few families. He had 4 children.
Throughout the
I think
country.
at least 3 different women.
Yeah.
But
So
and
it
they
just
were all,
goes to show you.
and he had one a year. 48, 49, 50, and 51.
Good grief.
But
That's what Charlie Brown says.
I think that with your remark about how it connects to fathers, usually when a kid is really young, he looks up to his dad as being his role model. When he gets a little bit older, whether it be teenage years, young adult years, and young adult as in 18 to early 20s, they look up to people that, whether they be celebrities, sports stars, moguls, people that just come off as being cool.
And back then, all you had to do was smoke a cigarette and drink some whiskey to be cool.
But once somebody becomes mentally mature, then they begin to realize that all along their father, in some cases, there are fathers that are not necessarily meant to be idealistic, but in this case, I think that it's just this idea of picking the right
Role model.
picking the right role model to follow, and look at their morals too. Don't just look at the fact that they can have a good time and pick up women and have children, and
which is what
and be in debt for the rest of your life.
And I've seen toward the end, or toward the middle of the end, when they're leaving San Francisco together for the last time, when he shows up at the doorstep of Moriarty, when Sal shows up at the doorstep of Moriarty in the middle of the night, and then he has a fight with his wife, and then they decide that they're going to go to Italy together.
Oh.
No, they decide they're going to go to Italy at that point.
Italy. Yeah.
So they're and then the whole San Francisco crew is sitting there in judgment of Dean, saying, you know, you and your damn kicks, like that's all you're after is your kicks. You know, you got responsibilities. You should be taking care of your responsibilities. But he and Sal, in this kind of strange codependency, are saying nuts to that, and we're gonna kick off on another adventure.
Like, well, but because I think Sal, he was in college. I think, well, most of them were in college, but I think Sal wanted. I read he wanted to go on one last trip before going back into his. I mean, now, okay, that's fine. You got the money, go ahead and do it. You know, I mean, I when I saw. I'm deviating slightly, but you know, $50, $5, $100 was the biggest denomination of cash I've seen. That's nothing today. I mean,
Yeah.
of course, you know, the chapter cost of living really hit me like a bus.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, even and then 20 years, 30 years prior to that, 35 cents, 50 cents for a whole tank of gas, and that included probably a sandwich, a cup of coffee, and you know.
But that was when 55 cents was 55 cents.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not 4% of 55 cents.
I thought it was more than 4%, but all right.
I don't even know if it's even 4% anymore.
Yeah.
But what you know that got to me too, and when we're down to our last $4, it's like today I'm now at my last $4 until I get my DD, and I'm not talking about Dunkin' Donuts again.
He stuck around though. He managed.
Yeah.
He got from one place to the other.
Yeah.
They did it.
Yeah, Charlie brought up jazz, right?
I think you brought up jazz, but I went off on it and how it's just great, how hard it is to play on, especially the drummer. Look at Buddy Rich drumming, Gene Cooper drumming.
It was just interesting, the idea of jazz music in general, especially the idea of
it's everywhere.
Jazz music with the beats movement, because just like the jazz in itself is it's inconsistent in how it's played and executed, but at the same time it is able to obtain the control and attention of people that are rowdy and rebellious, minded like the members of the Beats movement
it kind of works with the story then, with the unpredictability of where he's going, how they're going to get there, because jazz itself it's not scripted by anything, it's just an unpredictable whims of the players.
It's that improvisational.
Yeah. And as they're going wherever they're going, they're like, oh, let's go here. Let's try and hitchhike this way. Oh, that didn't work, but this person offered me a ride.
Right.
We'll just,
the impact that George Shearing is referred to as God. His Lullaby in Birdland was his big hit back in the day.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
and it's that life on the road where they don't have a lot of money, right? They don't know how they're going to get from point A to point B necessarily. And that's the part of it that they're kind of in love with is that what's going to happen, how are we going to get there? And the jazz plays into that perfectly because of the fact that it is so improvisational. So yeah, I think if the characters in this book had strong father figures, they could take that faith that they have in the future that they used to go across the country and use that to do something more traditional, more and more productive with their lives instead of just rambling across the country the way they are.
So then we would have kind of like a rock beat going because it's solid. I'm kidding. This drummer joke.
but it's also during a time where people didn't really worry as much about their future or something happening to them, or they were just like, okay, let's do this thing, let's go. Yeah. They didn't stop to think, it's like, oh, what if this happens
like today,
to me down the road here? What if this happens over here? They were just more spontaneous about it.
We can all build our dreams in 5 minutes, and yes, you can, and that's what would happen.
Find a way to do it then.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you also had another thing was the work ethic. It seemed like Sal, as much as one wants to relate and sympathize with the protagonist, Sal really had a poor work ethic.
Absolutely.
Like in Denver, his friend got him a job with Eddie, his little Irish hitchhiker buddy, and he just didn't show up the first day he was supposed to start working. Nah.
There was something that he found. I think it was something that he found as being physically too demanding for him.
I think it was the produce thing.
Yeah, I think it was the produce that he found to be. Because I know when he worked as a police officer, he just couldn't meet the quota.
He knew he wasn't.
And he
officer.
Yeah, he actually got drunk while on duty, and because he was trying to quiet down the
people.
And then he's like,
quieting down.
He's like, whatever. And then next thing you know, they're shooting off guns. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. And that was a great juxtaposition too of like the idea of authority and his kind of attitude toward authority, which isn't very positive.
Yeah.
And, it's like at the same time, while
nobody from the Beats era really had a positive impression with authority.
Except
right, which is understandable for the time period. Right? It's the 1950s, freaks and geeks or whatever, are kind of outcasts and everything. But at the same time, the authority, in a sense, also provides some stability, and that's something that, with the rejection of authority in general, they kind of rejected the stability of just of traditionalism.
Kind of odd now how 50 or so, 60 years later, they're the authority now.
But even when they wrote the police officers, they sort of made the authority there like too into themselves. Like they kept talking about their time in Alcatraz and how like they're just supposed to be guarding the barracks. Like you have to meet this quota of arrests, otherwise you'll be fired. So they're kind of like overestimating their own abilities.
It's still, in a way, you still have to beat quotas. You have to give out so many tickets.
Yeah, but they're
kind of tyrannical about it.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. They're very like, you need to do this.
Right, and then that scene where they arrest that one guy for not following orders on the second time it was given when they go in to inspect the room or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then that one cop is like, I got to arrest somebody here because you guys, I give 2 chances, never 3. I give 2 chances, never 3. It's like that idea of authority and tyranny kind of getting mixed up together. And and that can happen. That does happen.
And again, you got to look at perspective too. And Sal, this is coming from Sal's perspective.
Exactly.
That's true.
Which is an anti-authority
Yeah.
perspective, but at the same time, looking for his father, or Neil is really the one looking for his father, but Sal, is bringing it up as well. Like there's a part of that is authoritarian.
But then they go out of their way to disrespect it, like when he and Remy were actively breaking into the kitchen
Yep.
to steal food.
And
Yep.
not just food. I think they would also go for the cigarettes, what I call the non-essentials.
And Remy kept trying every door to see if they were open. Be like, what can I steal out of this room today?
Yeah. It's like how can we push and test the limits today? How far can we push the buttons of like let's see if we can push Sergeant's buttons any further today and see what happens. I
don't think they cared so much about pushing the buttons
or
as they were just
it was like the thrill.
oh, we can do this because we're in this position.
Yeah, and we can we can take some money from here. I mean, there was like I said, I'm just I'm just like any other job. Back then, if you took a little bit from the register, it was It was a lot harder to find out who did it.
Yeah.
I mean,
the cameras that places have.
Yeah.
Every square inch, including the parking lot.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah. Even the bathroom where I work at has a camera, and I'm like, okay, smile. Ah! Just kidding. Bad joke. But no, I mean, I remember I have to initial tape after I use the register. We have to initial. It's like, okay, I get it, but
It's like that simultaneous where they're both very, very adverse to authority and rejecting of it, but at the same time, it's like they know that they're missing something because of the father stuff, right? Where they're looking for their father, while at the same time taking the paternal element and not embracing it.
Yeah, kind of like ignoring. I mean, this one kid, Dean. How many cars did he go through? I mean, he had like what?
Yeah, it is worse when he stole like 5 or 6 in one night.
And then the cops were there. Cops, police officers. They were there. Cops sometimes don't like being called cops. I found that out in a friendly way. But still, yeah, they were like, and they were there, and they're like, where is this kid? And he's in another car, and I don't know.
The obvious truth, as we learn by the end of the book, Dean is not an ideal individual.
Not even a little. I mean, he leaves his friend alone with dysentery.
Yeah, in the heart of Mexico City.
In the banana fields of Mexico. Just be like, yeah, you're sick. Bye now.
I gotta get this. I gotta get back.
And that was their adventure. Go to Mexico to get the divorce papers, and then get high, get banged, get
banged. What? Oh, sorry.
From the prostitutes.
Sorry.
Just.
I'm a drummer.
Being married,
and then
it gets dysentery. Dean leaves him. Sal realizes he's a rat.
Yeah.
And
well, it's like
but not even fully, right? Because then he's ready to go and move across the country again.
But then again, Remy stuck it to him when Sal was thinking about giving him the ride to where he needed to go. Remy told him, absolutely not. He stays here.
And Remy is the character that was willing to sacrifice and love his father at the end too. So it's interesting that's the character that ultimately got Sal to reject him.
Which Remy seems to be. Remy's probably not the perfect individual, but he.
Yeah.
Well, then
he's at least properly oriented enough to have a father in his life.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. It's not really a philosophical question, but are we all not perfect? Do we all have flaws?
Of course.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. We all have.
That leads to the unreliability of Sal's narrative because he thinks Dean is this perfect person.
I felt bad for Dean. I felt bad for Dean, and that kind of started a mini little
thing
going on here. And anyway, you can see I'm still living.
Okay. Tell me how you felt bad for Dean Moriarty.
I felt bad. Not. You can only have so much pity for somebody who decides willingly to screw up on their own. Like, let's go trash this car. Let's go do this to this poor woman and deflower her. Stuff like that. You can only feel bad for someone for so long. But I meant it from the childhood when he was a kid. Because we all start out in this. And now I feel like a Sarah McLachlan thing going on here. Trigger warning. Sorry. Sorry. No. Sorry. But it's we all start out as vulnerable people, individuals. Now I know I can be a real goofball, but even I too started as a very small. I always need. We all needed somebody, myself included. We all started as someone who was small, who needed help. Always, we had to have it done for us. I wasn't allowed to use a steak knife until I was 15. I'm not joking. Okay? All right? Or 14, whatever. Middle school area. But that's what I'm saying. Dean didn't have that fatherhood figure to say, here, let me help you. Or let's go out and play ball together. Now, that I feel bad for. I simply,
Didn't a few of the characters have father?
Yeah, a lot of them.
The father of Dean was originally a good, well-respected tinsmith, and then all of a sudden he fell into the trope of alcoholism.
Well, this is not alcohol, but
and that's when it just all went downhill.
That happens.
Hit the fan, and that's
that does happen.
Yeah, and
Kerouac was an alcoholic himself.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, and you can see that with the way he shows up for that dinner in the beginning with Remy's father.
Yeah,
he starts getting drunk, and next thing you know, he's making a fool of himself.
Yeah,
Well,
stepping over people. I mean, that's alcoholism. That's
it was
alcoholism.
actually really, that scene was kind of weird because he was fine until his other friend showed up.
Yeah,
and started being
And
a jerk, and then for some reason he just started drinking.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a recurring theme, ain't it?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it seems like once, even like with Dean, right? When he's got his stuff together, or is at least going in the right direction, where he's not bouncing around the country and abandoning his family of the day again. Who shows up, right? Sal shows up, and then the next thing you know, the two of them are off and running.
Yeah.
Off getting drunk. So it's a very negative codependency.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both.
Like, hey, my friend's here. Let's go get trashed. And it comes back. When Sal's back in New Jersey with his aunt, and he's about to go west for the second time, and his aunt flat out says, "I don't like who you are when you're with them."
Yeah.
About his friends. It's like
he's
he's fine when he's just on his own, but as soon as his friends come, it's like
I don't want you hanging around with those people.
He needs to party. He needs to drink. He needs to let loose and have a good time, and it just makes him a terrible person.
And there's nothing wrong with letting loose, having a good time, but just. Don't.
Moderation.
Yeah, and it says someone who drinks Snapple like it's going out of business.
But Sal and Dean,
But that's
when they're
natural.
together, it seems to cause trouble for both
like
of them and everybody else.
And it's not it's not just Sal and Dean though.
And then everybody else in between. You had great. It's funny. It wasn't just Sal being based on Kerouac and Dean being based off of Neil Cassidy. You had Karl Marx was based off of Allen Ginsberg, and old Bull Lee was based off of William S. Burroughs.
Right.
Everybody else was someone that we really didn't know that well. There were some exceptions here and there, though.
Well, nobody that I know well. I'll say that because I'm not so into the beats that I knew all these other characters. But ultimately, right. Speaking of that, though, let's talk about that because we got Karl Marx, right, who's Ginsberg, and Carrie and Dean, and they're involved in that relationship where in Denver, right, early on, where they spend up the whole night just battling nonsense at each other,
looking directly
on
at each other.
Yeah.
Like sitting on the bed, staring directly into each other's souls, just spouting nonsense.
For hours and hours and hours.
Literal hours.
That probably
so
would have
weird.
happened between Ginsberg and Cassidy. I could see it happening.
Yeah.
It was so weird.
And
And
I
then
am
Sal
pro
was just
talking
lying
nonsense.
there listening to them the whole time.
Because you're going to drive each other crazy.
Like I said, I'm pro at talking nonsense, because, I have those few people where I work, and they just like to be just that they'll start a conversation.
Yeah, but are they doing it seriously or are they just
No. Most of them do it because they want to.
I think
and they want to start something, and like you know.
Well, I think a part of them were trying to be serious. Like,
I mean, in the book, they take it very seriously.
They heard all these intellects in the background and picked up some like big language, and then are trying to use it in ways they don't understand what the heck they're talking about. They're just using it to make themselves sound smart and deep.
Neil, definitely, right? Or Dean.
Yeah.
I keep calling him Neil because he's a constant character throughout literature, right? Like, he's in another book that I like a lot. This is the Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test. Which comes later.
He's under another name as well. Neil Cassidy's, they use something different. Kerouac uses a different name for him.
I don't like
throughout the different books, because I think there was some kind of copyright issue where the publisher controlled these character names, didn't want to use the real name, so then you had to come up with a whole new list of everybody.
But he was able to reuse the other name on several occasions.
Which one?
That one, I can't come up with it off the top. I'll leave a link down below to the name.
Yeah, like even South Paradise he doesn't use after this book. Like in Dharma Bums he calls himself Ray. And there's just different, never the real name, but always you kind of, it's like spot the figure. But where were we going with that? I think we kind of tangented.
Okay, kind of tangent.
Sorry.
Oh.
I know we were talking about that Sal is kind of an unreliable narrative because he doesn't think that Dean can do any wrong. It's like every action that Dean does, no matter how terrible, it's like, oh, Dean did this. We're going to go on a journey together.
I think that people in their teens and early 20s are that way, where these reckless misfits can do no wrong.
Yeah,
you have teeny boppers, but that's a little bit.
Yeah, but then even when Sal finally made it to Denver, like all the other friends, which I'm assuming are around his age, are like, no, Dean and Carlo Marx are not good people. Like they figured it out by then, probably because they spent time like actually around them in Denver. And Sal has it's kind of like one of those absence makes the heart grow fonder thing, because he was all the way in Jersey and made his way across for like I don't know how long it took him.
Absence makes
Carlo Marx as a name
to call him a con man, Sal even, right? Like I mean, within a couple of weeks of them meeting, he said, "I knew I was being played by this guy," and I decided.
Yeah,
so what?
but he still took it as more of a this is a thing, and not for how bad it actually was.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. He didn't recognize the danger. Now, whether that makes him an unreliable narrator, I'm not willing to go that far, right? Because he puts it all in there. It's not like he's withholding anything. I mean, he's not afraid to write himself as, kind of an idiot.
That's true.
He comes across as an idiot. And because he is one in a lot of ways.
No, I'm not.
Not you, Charlie. Sal Paradise.
Ooh, Paradise. Do you think the name...
But that's one of the things that I admire about him a lot, is that he's very honest about things. I find that he tries to be honest.
I find it weird that like he'll go for entire pages and pages of paragraphs and not talking about Dean, talking about whatever situation he's in, and then the last sentence to be like, I wondered where Dean was. Like, okay.
It is kind of an obsession.
Spontaneous much.
Yeah, it is kind of an obsession, right? For Marx too, in those early days, right? When he's like, when Dean's trying to spend time with his girl, and Marx is as possessive of Dean as the girl is.
But then there's that whole weird situation where Dean schedules out absolutely every hour of his day.
It's kind of interesting, right? It's like Sal Paradise Lost. Where, right? And just like in Dante, geographically, they end up going as far south together as they possibly can. And what they find there is the same thing that Dante finds, right, in the center of hell, which is the sin of betrayal.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And then he ends up back where he started in New Jersey.
Yeah.
At the very end, so the entire journey, he's back at the beginning.
Yeah. But squandered youth, squandered opportunity.
But now with all the knowledge and regrets of that, squandered youth and opportunity.
You can tell people, who are now coming of age, I'm assuming that this took place I'm assuming the course of 4 years here, or 5. I'm not good at math. Like, hey, don't make the mistakes I made, And a lot of older people I know, they're like, Charlie, don't make those mistakes that I made. I'm like, how the heck do you know my name? Because some of these people I don't even know. It's just on my name tag.
Yeah, I know. I get messages from people on Facebook sometimes. And they're like, hey, remember me? I'm like, no.
No, not really. But that's the problem with people telling you don't make the same mistakes that I did, because like you learned those mistakes through your experiences and your opportunities. You don't want people to go through them, but sometimes you have to go through them to get the full impact of why it's not a good decision.
I think there's a saying, you don't know what rock bottom is until you're at rock bottom. I think that's an expression, or I'm very loosely paraphrasing it, but you know, and some of these people I work with, very nice, very nice. I got a job at the library. I might as well just say it. And some people, I have a rapport with them. I'd go to work with my kilt, and that, I mean, for like Culture Day or something like that. You know, Halloween. That was a real kick. And you know, that's some of them were like, oh wait a minute, so you got a little bit of culture under your belt. I'm like, I would hope so. But anyway. You know, and I have my rapport with some of the customers I'm with. You know, they're like, "Wow, you're nice," you know, and I'll, because a lot of them they check out CDs. I'm like, "Oh, great drummer! Wait a minute, you know that music?" I'm like, "Yes, I do." Like, "Oh yeah, well, who's the drummer?" I said, "Bobby Colombo from Blood, Sweat, and Tears" or something. Like, "Oh my God!" I'm like, "I'm a drummer myself. I play this stuff. I love it," you know. And then that's how the friendship starts. You know, they'll actually come to my line. They're like, even though my line might be slightly longer, they'll like sneak over or whatnot, you know, but still. And I go see a library.
Already, anybody have any final thoughts?
Sure, I have one. It's funny that the subject that kind of brings them together in the beginning, or at least that brings
in the beginning, God made light.
That brings Moriarty there, is Nietzsche, right?
Nietzsche.
So it's kind of like the death of God. And very early on too, what does Sal say? He says, you know, this happened right after I got over my sickness. And he said, I don't want to say much about it, except that it made me feel that everything was dead. So that's kind of like about with nihilism, right? And what Nietzsche predicted was that as the West came to terms with the death of God, that that the two dangers were finding nihilism or tyranny. And definitely nihilism seems to be something that the Beats had to contend with quite a bit. Given that they completely destroyed tyranny. Tyranny was not the direction they were going to go. So
we're not gonna take it.
So it kind of led to nihilism. Now Nietzsche's idea was to create your own values, and that's kind of what we see Sal trying to do, and and Dean, right? But the thing that they want to value is experience and kicks, and instead of like traditionalism and what carried the weight that far. So I think that's kind of my final thought on it, is that maybe God ain't dead after all.
Going off of that, I find it really interesting that the book began and ended with a sickness. Because like the beginning sickness obviously changed something in his life, and then afterwards, after he got dysentery, that changed his whole perspective again.
Yeah. I mean, not really. He died when he was 47 from alcoholism and a hemorrhage. So I mean, it didn't do much for him.
Well,
but in the terms of this narrative.
Yeah, in the terms of the narrative, like I found that interesting.
Yeah.
How would we rate this on a scale of 0 to 5 stars with half stars permitted? Laurie.
I go 4, and the reason is because I like Kerouac's style. I think he's very honest about himself and his experiences. I think that he writes things as true to how they happened as possible. It comes across as very realistic to me, and I appreciate that. And it's a little bit rambling, and I definitely don't agree with his life. But as far as a writer goes, and as far as putting down something, I think this is a very strong work.
Perri?
I'd give it a 3, mostly because I didn't really like the style, and the rambly parts did get very rambly at some
and then
points.
this happened, and then that, yeah.
But when it actually got to the story, when it started going through his experiences, it was actually very engaging. It was very like, oh, that's interesting how you came up with this idea to do this and how you made it back and forth across the country several times with just a couple dollars and your wits. So.
Good for you.
Good for you.
Hey, before we go on, I just wanted to ask one more thing, Charlie, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
Hemingway once said, never write slang, right, unless it's stuff that is really stuck around for a while, like shit, or something like that.
Whoa, I'm sorry.
Sorry out there, world.
That's all right.
Like words that have withstood the test of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in this work, obviously, Kerouac did not subscribe to that school at all, right?
Mm.
But the reason Hemingway said that was because he felt that it would make the work seem dated as it went on and not timeless. You guys think that it suffers because of his superfluous use of slang?
Not really. I think that if a work is solid enough in its plot and in its character development and in its themes, I think that would outdo the issues regarding the use of particular words. There are some works that are a challenge to follow because of the way it's worded, but that has to do with language, general language structure, and not necessarily slang.
It is interesting too because setting is a key point to this, right? Like the whole jazz thing that happened once in this country, the idea that you could ride a freight train across the country. Those days are long gone, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you do that now, you end up headless probably on
Hitchhiking the
some
same
road.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that piece of it too, where maybe it is a little bit nostalgic, and that's not such a bad thing.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I give it a 4 as well because, yes, it did lose a star because of the rambling and which, it kind of, to me, it was kind of like like a kid saying, and then this happened, and then we made s'mores, and then I sat on his face. Whoa, okay, little Tommy, all right, but then it also.
I want to know how those s'mores taste.
I love s'mores. I made some the other night. They were so good. Food is my spirit animal. I just flat out said it there. But it did lose that star only because it was a little hard. I had to go back a little bit and say, okay, so here's where we originally were. Then there was a tangent, kind of like what I'm famous for. So, but
Maybe a few too many characters.
Oh yeah, I lost track of them several times.
Places, yes.
I'm like, now who's with who? It
Seeing
was like Jersey Shore.
The graph of who's based off of who was a little bit helpful, but that was after the fact.
Right.
But great read. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
I'm going to agree with Perri. I'm going to give it a 3 because it was rambly. It was a challenge to keep up with, and I also felt that I think that it's a great challenge when there's really nobody in the work that is likable or has any clear state of mind. Sal was very unreliable. I think that he was. I don't know. I don't think he was too unreliable. I think the dean would have been much more unreliable. But I think that the reason why I say it's okay and not anything below that is because I think that when you approach it critically, I think that there's a lot of interesting thoughts and ideas that you can get out of it and how it can relate to the general individual, and at the same time reflect on the Beats area itself.
I love your library, by the way.
Yes.
I just love this library. It got bigger too. More books.
Yep.
Not bigger.
My entire collection's in here now, except for the books that are on my nightstand and the newly acquired ones.
I'm just so fascinated with all the books.
But if you are interested in reading On the Road, here is a copy of my edition of On the Road. It is from Penguin Great Books of the 20th Century. Penguin Classics is a top publisher in America.
There's a picture of him on the back before he.
Alrighty then, be sure to join us next time on another episode of Literary Gladiators. For now, keep reading.